Right guys, welcome now to my third lesson here with Dan Whittaker, and I've been told that I'm not allowed to shake hands at the start of a video anymore because apparently it looks weird, and I'm not going to do it anymore because I know Dan now. I don't need to shake his hand every time I see him. And we're here just having a look at the third lesson that we've just gone through. Again, massive changes which have been going on to my swing over the last few months, and I would say that this is the most dramatic yet. And it comes off the back of lots of other changes which have gone on. So to put in a little bit of perspective, it's a complete difference in my overall technique, and today was very much focused around what I was doing with my lower half, which then went up the change, so to speak, and it's changed again what I'm doing with my upper half. I'm pretty safe in saying that my backswing is, I'm not going to say sorted yet because it still takes a little bit of work to get into, but we've certainly moved beyond that now. We've certainly moved on to the next stage of my swing, which is really focused in on impact. So if we want to have a little bit of a chat through what we've done today and why we've done it, because it is, especially when you compare it to the first swing that we'll do, is so different, so different.
What we'll do is we'll show them what we've changed, and then show them the before and after. Okay. Leave it till the end for that.
I'm going to leave this to Dan because I'm really quite proud. I'm going to give myself a good old pat on the back after this.
You'll be like this.
Yeah, I'm going to walk out smiling.
My flexibility doesn't let me reach around there. It's not good.
Oh, I'm going to be super flexible. I'm going to be patting all on my back.
So what we've done is we noticed, like in the first lesson, that the right hip was tending to work high in that transition. So if we draw a little arrow and line in, it was tending to rise up a little bit here. Okay, and then that was then tending to make the upper body want to go forward. But what we can see now is if we draw a line here, we can see now that the pelvis is staying a lot more level, and if anything, going down. It felt like it was going really super low, didn't it?
Yeah, the feeling for me on this was literally my left hip was almost going off to the right. My right hip was dropping down to where my knee was, and then my right knee was kicking in and my right foot was rolling. It felt exceptionally odd, but it didn't feel anything like what it's looking like. And just a reference just about what Dan was saying about my right hip getting high in the backswing. If you go back to the first lesson, that was that rotation in the backswing of my hip and going deep with my hip that we spoke about earlier.
And if you go back and look at the 3D data from that first lesson, you'll notice that the initial one, it had like an angle on where the spine was at impact. I think it was only like 1 degree away from the target, which is really minimal. So it's also linked to a potential injury for the lower right hand side of the back. So what we'd see is from the down the line here now, so you can see that we just draw it in here. So you can see now that that is staying way more level, and now actually starting to drop in a little there. So we can see that the right side is definitely a lot lower down. Okay, the angle between the shoulders has increased, and the hips are a lot more open.
Yeah, and it's a very strange, obviously it's a very strange feeling, but also what it was doing to my path numbers and everything else, because over the last few weeks, as I've been trying to make some changes in my downswing, I've been trying to clear a little bit more left and doing lots of other crazy and wonderful things, which Dan's got me doing. My path has been going further off to the left-hand side, and I've been able to hit a consistent little fade, but not really much else, because that's where my path's been going. But using these new changes, it's neutralised me out. I mean, that one was actually a little bit more inside than I had been doing, but the rest of the numbers were showing very neutral path numbers.
Yeah, kind of like 1 degree a lot of the time in and around there.
So just able to control that club face a little bit more at impact and not having to shut or open it quite so much.
Which was massive.
Yeah.
And the big bit here is, so you can see how the left knee is starting to work outwards and the hip is going forwards in this area. So when we talk about the thigh going out, it's going out this way. And then it's able to then straighten. So left side can then straighten up through the ball. So now it's starting to straighten up here. We can see now just how much more that spine is angled away from the target. It's dramatically different. You know, this was as much as we had all day on that. Okay, and then what we see is from there, that right side can then keep moving through the ball. So when I was referencing it, we said that the idea would be, if we thought about the right trouser pocket from kind of down the line here, if we highlight that, you can see now that that just keeps moving on the way through. It's barely stopping at all. And the big thing is the club is now travelling and moving more around your body.
That's one of the big things, and something which I think a lot of people do get confused about when they're thinking about hitting from the inside or trying to draw it or whatever you want to look at it like. Some people don't equate to a low finish like that through the body as being linked into hitting from the inside. A lot of people think if they do want to hit from the inside and hit a draw, the exiting impact there, that club has to be travelling miles off to the right hand side. It's not the case when you're using your body in a different way
Exactly.
like this. And let's have a little bit of a comparison to
why not
to what's changed there.
So this is massive.
Crazy.
So we get both of them to the top here.
So you see the difference in that hip turn straight away and the body
Huge
position.
difference there. You know, hip turn, everything's different there at the top. More angled away from the target, the upper body, lower body just looks so much more stable. Now at impact, we could see here going forwards, the head went forwards, hip just turned. So at impact, everything was really level coming through the ball. Now what we can see is the lower body is sliding, the right ankle is starting to roll here and travel, and that's it, the impact position.
It's crazy. That is a crazy, crazy difference.
It's a massive difference.
And this is the thing when we're talking about, having lessons and changing your swing and what you can do within a relatively short space of time. I mean, this has only been 3 lessons. And when actually was my first lesson?
That was 12th of Jan.
12th of January. So, in the space of
2 months.
Well, 2 months, yeah. And if I'm being honest, because of my injury to my wrist, we're not talking about hours and hours and hours of practice. We're talking about just selective practice, a lot of practice swings without hitting balls, has been able to affect a massive change. And the whole reason for these changes, my numbers on the first lesson, my path numbers were from the inside, I was hitting a draw, but my club face was very unstable, and the movements I was making with my body just weren't as consistent as they needed to be. So there was a wide variance of different shots. And the whole point of this is to make sure that my body is moving in a way which is going to be more consistent over a longer period of time. So I don't have those flashes of very good rounds and then the next round I'm just chopping it all over the place. And getting into these type of positions is going to make a massive difference to that delivery.
They're crudely drawn lines, but you can see just a massive difference there from like the centre of the fly to kind of side of the nose. It's a huge difference, We've got the other one here from the lesson. This was just a couple of swings earlier. It probably wasn't quite as exaggerated as that one. It just looks amazing. Again, the right foot roll's not quite as good on this one as the one right at the end, but the hip position and the spine angle, once again, these are just so different. Okay, that's post impact. This is that one just a little further on. We can see what we both noted was at impact. This was really interesting. How much that the right wrist earlier was starting to work under the club, whereas now it's actually got a bit of angle in the opposite direction.
And that was all to do, I like how that explanation about that right hip rising up, just turning, not really much bend, lateral bend there, and that right hand had to move in that direction to catch up at impact.
Yeah.
And now, because I'm in that totally different position, I can get a little bit more of that bend in that right hand, and actually the flip and the release that I had at impact has really calmed down now.
It's changed a lot. Have a look from down the line. So there's the first one. This is the very last swing. So what we see in and steep and across, not much hip turn. Completely different movement in the lower body.
Drastically different, isn't it, actually?
Now here we see how that left trouser pocket almost dived downwards there. See how high that right side then stayed. It made the club come quite steep there, and then you dropped it under at the bottom. Whereas now, so that right side stays low, that left trouser pocket isn't diving down anywhere near the same. If you look where that's coming at that point, how different that is. The club's so much shallower there than it was in here, there, a lot more flippy and steeper, now a lot lower down. Yeah. Way different.
Love it. Absolutely love it. And I, loving how a swing looks is one thing, but actually looking at the numbers, looking at the data, and then seeing how this performs on the course is going to be another one. I've got a comp early next week, which I will be using this swing in, and we'll see how we get on. I mean, initially when you go through swing changes, I'm not expecting this to, start shooting 64 straight away. Would be nice though.
That'd be great.
We'll just have to see how we get on. But this is the last shot here.
Next to last, but there was a 2.6 into out, and that was like a baby draw. So that was, something, you actually swung that a tiny bit slower to give yourself the true feelings of what the hip were doing. That's why the club head speed's a little bit down. It's not your normal distance, but the path number was so different. The one at the start, to give an idea, it's not like you were really hitting it super hard. It was like 4.7 out, and you were swinging it well at the start. This is of today's lesson. So we've shifted that path. They're like 6.5, 7 degrees. That's a lot.
Yeah,
it's a huge amount.
And then without thinking about it as well, that's probably one thing I do need to say. That path there changed more from an inside position without me trying to get it more from an inside position, just from how I was working the lower body in a different way. And that is just how changes in one part of the swing can affect what matters, impact. So, excited. I'm very, very excited about how this is going. I'm very excited about how it's looking and the changes that we're making. Guys, please comment below. Make sure you subscribe to Dan as well. All his links are in the end card that's going to be popping up soon and in the description below. So make sure you hop over there. Dan, thank you very much.
We best do this.
Like that. Well,
we started like that. We should create our own little handshake, like a little something like this. Something like that, or a little.
We'll come up with that on camera.
We'll come up with it next time.
I am not gangster enough. We are not gangster enough to start doing that. Right, guys, thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like I said, hop over to Dan and subscribe. All our links are in the description below as well, so make sure you follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and all the rest of it. And we will see you next time. Excited. Awesome. Good. Pats on the back. Pats on the back all around.